All right, so welcome to today's webinar. As June said, I'm Erica Foley, and if you're not familiar with Beringer Technology Group, just a little bit about who we are and what we do. We are a tech keys company, and we are an industry leader in Dynamics and Power Platform implementations. We do a number of projects with both CRM and ERP integration, as well as managed network services for a variety of customers in the IT space. We have over 20 years experience in implementation, configuration, training, and support of customer relationship management solutions. We also have proven strategies from several distribution and supply chain implementations, as well as expertise in unifying sales and marketing forces while accelerating company growth and greatly extending outreach. And we have solutions deployed successfully for over 1,000 different companies across a diverse range of industries. And so while our focus, as you can see, is customer relationship management and supply chain, what we're going to present today is really solution agnostic, and our user adoption tips and tricks and best practices can really be applied to any software implementation project. A little bit about me. I'm the Director of Project Management Services here at Beringer. I'll be celebrating my 7th BTG anniversary tomorrow. And before coming to Beringer, I've worked in the CRM space for over 2 decades, primarily in software implementation. I used to be a very, very technical resource and moved into project management, program management, product development, and sales and marketing over the years. So I wear a lot of different hats here. On the personal side, I'm a former Brownie and I am a Girl Scout troop leader. And for those of you who really know me well, you also know that I am an avid Lego builder, and I have a number of my models here in my office, should you ever have the opportunity to stop by and visit. So now to today's topic. What is user adoption? So user adoption is a process of making sure end users are able to utilize a system in order to achieve one or more business goals. We're creating a solution where our end users are able to adopt a system in order to fulfill a specific need or a purpose. And we're helping them to transition from a legacy system to a new system by an organization or a specific group of users. Sounds like a big task, and it is, and it's a very, very important task. When we are looking at user adoption, it's one of the most important facets of a software implementation project. If we don't have good user adoption, it can lead to negative results such as poor user productivity, information overload, user churn, employee turnover, bloated training budgets. But when we focus on user adoption from the very beginning of a project, we can have tremendous success, and we can help increase our end user engagement, increase our productivity within and across teams. We can lower our rate of error in entering and utilizing data. We can reduce employee onboarding time, and we can reduce the time to realize our return on investment. So all really great assets to a successful user adoption implementation. There's many different approaches to user adoption. There's the big bang approach, the parallel approach, and the phased approach. So the big bang approach really starts, as it sounds, with just one big bang. In other words, you set the date and you dive right in. An old system is abandoned while a new one is adopted. And a big bang adoption has some advantages. You get everyone on the same page on the same day and they run with it. Everybody's working on the same system, and you have instant change that you can begin realizing right away. To succeed with a big bang approach, training and orientation are key. Before you start, everyone needs to know exactly what's going to happen, how it affects them, and the way it will work, and how to use the software. All the questions need to be answered, and all the concerns need to be addressed, and it all happens at the same time. A parallel approach is going to involve having 2 systems that run simultaneously through a transition period. The advantage of a parallel adoption is that users get a chance to get used to the new system, and if they get stuck, they can always transfer back to the old system until they get the support that they need. But one disadvantage to this is that now you have 2 systems to monitor and maintain. You can have people grinding to a halt in one system because they don't know what to do next. They can potentially have confusion over which system do I use to follow which business processes. And they might not be sure where to find the tools that they need in order to do their jobs because they have two different systems that they can log in and work in. So it can create some confusion, and you need to be very, very clear with each team as they transition onto the new system as to where to find the things that they need and where to perform the different job tasks that they're responsible for. It also gives them a sense of a security blanket that they can really fall back on. If they don't like the new system, they can always go back to the old one. And sometimes that works against us when it comes to user adoption. So that brings us to the phased adoption approach. In a phased user adoption, we basically drip feed all of our change into different systems over a period of time. So for example, a specific task or a specific team may transition to the new system, and once that's going smoothly, then the next phase is implemented. The changeover happens in small pieces as we ramp up the users and ramp up the system usage until all tasks and all teams are on the new system. Phased adoption usually results in a much more organized transition than parallel adoption, and everybody knows what needs to be done within the new system because we're giving them small pieces to use and become familiar with at a single time. It has a little bit more caution than a big bang approach because we're taking it in smaller pieces. We're focusing on smaller groups of users, and for that reason, we tend to use the phased approach to user adoption in the majority of our projects here at Beringer. So everything that we do in order to promote user adoption can fall into different phases. And in our phased approach, the first phase is going to be to plan thoroughly. So tip number 1, we want to build an inclusive software selection team. Members of the software evaluation and selection team should represent a cross-section of your organization. In addition to leaders who understand the business objectives of the implementation, you should include staff members who can anticipate how the software will impact day-to-day operations. Make sure that each department or business unit feels their perspective is represented in the selection process. Tip number 2, design the system to streamline current cumbersome processes. Take the time to clearly understand your business processes and redesign them to simplify and streamline your employees' work. Replacing tasks currently done on paper with digital processes that take just as much time won't win over your users. Design a system that will help employees accomplish more in a day with fewer headaches. Your implementation partner should be familiar with your industry and provide best practice examples to guide your workflows and business processes. Tip number 3, plan ongoing support and training before go live. In fact, in a lot of our implementation projects, we began planning ongoing support and training right as the project is first kicking off. You should establish and communicate a clear plan for post-go-live support and training, and users will need to know what they will have help transitioning to the new system. Ongoing support and training will also keep users from establishing workarounds to avoid using the new system. Tip number 4, maintain key integrations and customizations. Don't expect users to manually transfer or enter data that a previous system handled automatically. Missing features and missing integrations are serious obstacles that users may be unwilling to accept. Integrations with other systems and customizations that meet specific requirements should be addressed early in the planning phase of the implementation. The next phase to successful user adoption is to lead proactively. And that takes us to tip number 5. Leadership must and should champion the project. All employees affected by the new system should have a clear understanding of why the project was initiated and the ultimate goal for the organization. The leadership team, from CEO to department managers, should be committed to that goal and be able to explain it clearly. Leaders should be supportive of employees' efforts and remain fully engaged throughout the project. Tip number 6, identify an internal project manager and key users. Before the project begins, identify a project team and project leader from within the company. All team members should be empowered to spend appropriate time on the project, and that may require a reduction or reallocation of current responsibilities. The project team should be well-rounded and include members from various parts of the organization, and perspectives from each team should be considered from the very beginning. Tip number 7, leverage your super users and cheerleaders. A super user is typically an employee who is enthusiastic in learning and advocating the benefits of a new system. Super users should be included or engaged by the project team to assist with training and communications. During the project, some team members will become cheerleaders for the project, embracing change and offering support. The project team should be on the lookout for these employees and have a plan to leverage their enthusiasm and empower their knowledge to help others. Tip number 8, prepare to be flexible. During a software implementation, there are likely to be unexpected challenges as well as opportunities. Assure everyone involved in the project that changes are to be expected and will be managed thoughtfully. Project team meetings should address potential changes, and leadership should be fully informed of possible impacts. The next phase of user adoption is phase number 3, and that is to manage expectations. And that brings us to tip number 9, which is to maintain consistent, continuous communications. To keep everyone informed from leadership to frontline users, you should establish regular communication channels. Project updates should be honest and informative to help users feel included in the entire process. You should consider using a tool like Microsoft Teams to promote discussions, answer questions, and provide an always-on location for project information. Tip number 10, establish metrics for goals and expected outcomes. The defined goals of a software implementation project should be clear and measurable. With mile markers, the project team can monitor and report on success. As decisions are made during the planning and execution phases, define metrics, provide guideposts to keep the project aligned to the desired outcomes. Tip number 11, recognize the potential impact on employee workloads. A software implementation can require significant time from project team members and users. Employees should not be expected to maintain their full-time job responsibilities in addition to planning, testing, and training. Put plans in place to offset workloads. For example, reduce regular work, get support from other departments, hire temps, or some other method. Give your employees the time they need to fully focus on their implementation assignments. Tip number 12, explain the business case for the project. Spend time building a clear business case to help users understand why they are being asked to support the implementation of a new system. By providing employees with the why as well as the what, leadership will establish a more inclusive environment that will promote user adoption. Lucky number 13, promote patience and tolerance during the project. Any software implementation project can be stressful for many of those involved. Project teams must make difficult decisions that not everyone will agree with. Department managers will be facing additional stress to get regular work done despite significant distractions. Users might be nervous about learning new systems or having their jobs become redundant. Everyone faces personal issues that may not be apparent, and patience and tolerance for missed deadlines or mistakes will go a long way in supporting user adoption. The fourth and final phase is to train effectively. Tip number 14, provide an overview walkthrough before training. Help users understand the big picture so they can understand how their role contributes to the process. Explain the system processes, including flowcharts that span across the organization to provide context for users. In addition to helping with the initial adoption of the system, a broader perspective may help users see how they can extend the system to streamline operations in the future. Tip number 15, address potential concerns of automation. Users might balk at learning a new system if they think it might replace their job or devalue their work. If automation will redefine their role, users need to understand precisely how they will fit in and what their responsibilities will be. demonstrate how the new system will benefit them specifically and how their effective use of the application will make their work more productive and fulfilling. Tip number 16, use terminology and examples that employees understand. During training sessions, use industry-specific terminology instead of generic examples included in vendor training data. If your organization uses the term bill instead of invoice, users could be confused. Popular testing and training data with actual company data to help employees identify with real-life situations. When using actual product or customer names, lessons are much more likely to be understood. Number 17, offer a variety of training and support options. Support all learners by providing a variety of training options. Some people will prefer in-person, hands-on training, and some will prefer to move at their own pace. Video recordings of live sessions support both paths and can provide a resource for new hires after implementation. Set up a Microsoft Teams site to provide a central location for immediate and accurate answers and training-related discussions. Not only will it keep business moving during the cutover, but it will also help end users feel supported as they work in the new system. Leverage superusers to help other employees in their business unit with on-the-job training and coaching. Superusers can provide a familiar face to answer questions and help with troubleshooting. And our final tip for today, tip number 18, is to take full advantage of video communication. This is something I think we all have embraced over the past year through the pandemic. But as the number of people working remotely continues to climb, the value of video training and communication has increased. For most organizations, user testing and training sessions will include employees working remotely. By hosting sessions in real time with a tool like Microsoft Teams, you'll enable two-way communication that can provide valuable visual feedback. Facial expressions and body language are key indicators of users' comprehension and adoption as they participate in training sessions. So in conclusion, the path to successful adoption follows our 4 basic phases: plan thoroughly, lead proactively, manage expectations, and train effectively. We hope that you learned a little bit more about the importance of user adoption and some tips and tricks that will help you improve and increase user adoption with your own software implementation projects. If you are interested in learning more about how Beringer Technology Group can help with your next software implementation or how to increase user adoption of your existing systems, please reach out to us using the website or the phone number displayed here. We're happy to help, and we look forward to your call.
Thanks very much, Erica. That was a lot of great information. Wanted to just check with our attendees. Does anyone have questions they want to post in the question box for Erica? I know that was a lot to cover and a lot to think about, but if you have questions, let us know. Or you can certainly reach out to us with those questions at the phone number through the website. No questions yet. That was very thorough, Erica. I guess all the questions were answered. We'll just give people another moment here, see if anyone thinks of something. If they don't, that's great. I think most everyone on the call knows how to reach us, although the phone certainly, but if you want to reach out to us, well, we'll go with that for now. All right, so it looks like everyone got all the answers they needed. No questions at this moment, so thanks everybody for joining. Oh, actually, there is one more. We did just get a question. Thanks for that. So real quick, Erica, what is the best way to deal with the negative Nancy's during a new rollout?
That's a great question. So if we happen to know that we have a negative Nancy on our hand, what we like to do is we like to engage them in the project as early on as possible. if they feel included in the project from the planning and inception phase all the way through design and testing and training, they usually can basically turn that frown upside down. They feel like they've been heard, they feel like they're part of the discussion, and we're usually able to elicit their concerns and get to the root of why they do feel so negative about moving to a new system. So by including them early and often throughout the implementation process, we're usually able to not only bring them around to becoming an adopter, but often they can turn into those super users and system champions that I talked about.
Thank you for that. I think that's a great way to get everybody involved and try to take away any negative attitude toward something new. We do have one more question from one of our attendees. What happens when, I guess it's during a project, when things continue to change during the process?
Mm-hmm.
I guess, is there some way to address when there's continual change happening? And maybe
Sure.
that's scope change or something like that. I'll let
Yep.
you interpret it.
So change management is a big part of an implementation project. Whenever we're working through software implementation, there are several different things that we can do to address change. One is change in scope in the project, and so it is the project manager's responsibility, both your internal project manager as well as your partner's project manager, to make sure that you're managing scope changes correctly and in a timely manner, making sure that all stakeholders and key project team members are aware of the changes and are part of the decision-making process as to how those changes will be addressed and handled. There's also a change management component as far as how we address changes that are going to be rolled out to end users, changes to an existing software implementation, changes to a new approach to managing business processes, moving from a legacy system to a new system. And so again, the key is communication, making sure that everybody is aware of why the change is occurring, what's in it for them, what are the benefits that they're going to get out of the change, and really just listening to their concerns and addressing any questions that come up along the way, and making sure that they don't feel like you're just ripping off a Band-Aid, but you're actually giving a lot of thought and concern to not only the change at hand, but the overall impact of that change makes everybody feel better about the change and the process in the long run.
That's a great way to address that. I like that. I agree. Good information. So we have one more question here, and I think this is a common one that happens, especially in longer projects. What would you recommend if we have key stakeholders or super users that we've come to rely on during a project? What do you do when those people change roles or move out of the situation?
Oh, that is an excellent question. So I think it's important to document everything that your stakeholders and your super users and champions are doing for you. It is so important, and the value and the information that they have and the services that they bring to the rest of the end users in their role is so key to success. And so the first thing I would say is document what they know. Don't just rely on the fact that they're always going to be around and available to share what they know, either verbally or through a video. Record it, have them write it down, make sure that you have the content and the knowledge that they possess in another resource that can be leveraged should they move on or move to a different role within the organization. Also make sure that if you know somebody is going to be moving on or moving to a different role, that there's a transition plan in place and that you know who is going to be stepping into that role moving forward and that you're able to have them make a smooth transition. So again, not flipping a switch and going from one champion to a brand new champion, but making sure that that person who's moving into the role to replace them has proper training, has plenty of transition time to really absorb the information that that original super user or cheerleader is taking with them,
Yeah,
and that they really get to shadow one another through the transition process.
that's a great way to look at it. I love that answer because I think it's true. You have to plan. Anyway, I don't want to
Absolutely.
take away from your answer. I think that covers it. Planning ahead for things like this. So anyone else, real quick, I'll ask. Any other questions before we end? Don't be shy. If you have something to ask, go ahead. Or maybe everyone's saving their questions for another day. We'll just give it another moment here. Yeah. Do you have anything else to add, Erica? Did you have any other, or I don't know. I'm not sure if you did, because these were good questions. I guess at this point, I guess we'll end since it looks like we've answered the questions at this point. Thanks everybody for joining, for participating in the call, and have a great rest of your day. Take
Thank you,
care.
everyone.